When I was a small boy, the doctors declared that my leg had to be cut off. Yes, my right leg had to be removed. Now, that was the first time in life when I really felt that there wasn't nothing much for me in this life. It's also the first time that I saw my mom cry, and it was a devastating moment for me. As a small boy, I was in class 6, and all of a sudden everything seemed like it had come to an end after I received that news. So what happened? Well, we serve a God of second chances. At least I know I do serve a God of second chances. And if you don't believe in God, I want to challenge you right this moment that there is a God in heaven who orchestrates everything that happens in our lives. For as long as you believe in Him, as long as you have accepted Jesus Christ in your life, then things don't just happen. So this is what happened. When I was in class 5, I had an accident. I fell down and I injured my knee, my right knee. And the wound healed on the flesh, but I didn't realize that the bone, the kneecap to be specific, had actually fractured due to the impact. The kneecap had fractured, but I didn't realize that. I only nursed the wound on the surface, on the flesh, and then it was healed, and yeah. Until a year later, when I was in class 6, and we went for some cross country. I remember I was in boarding school, and so the teachers have made us to go for cross country. And while I'm running, I realized there was a certain kind of pain in my right leg, and I wasn't sure why that was happening, because I was sure that I had not fallen down, I had not hurt myself in any way. Nothing had really happened to me. And so it was kind of confusing why I was experiencing that pain, and it became so intense until I had to go to the dispensary. Now the medication I was given, the deep hits and everything, they were all not working. Anytime I would try to stress and put pressure and put my weight on that leg, I would experience a certain kind of pain that was not normal, I would say. And so it was advised that I go for an X-ray, and sure enough I did. And the X-ray revealed something that was both shocking and mind-blowing. Now you see, because I was a young boy, I was still growing up. And from the injury that I had incurred an year ago when I was in class 5, remember I'm now in class 6. When the kneecap cracked, and I didn't notice that at the moment. And of course the wound healed on the flesh and everything was back to normal. But deep on the inside, because I was still growing up, as the kneecap was both trying to heal itself and also grow at the same time, what happened was, at the point of the fracture, where the fracture had happened, the bones started kinda like overlapping like this, and so they started protruding outwards towards the surface of the skin. And apparently that's what was causing me to have the pain anytime I put stress on that leg, because of that protrusion that was happening from my kneecap as a result of it trying to heal itself from the fractured point and also grow at the same time. Oh my. So what happened was, my mom and I got referred to a certain doctor in Nairobi. First of all, we sent the x-rays to him, to that doctor, and when he examined them, that's when he gave us the news that, yeah, this has really gone beyond repair, I would say. But anyway, what he said was that the remedy was really to cut that leg off from the knee downwards. And so I actually thought of all the people that I had seen like walking with crutches, and I was afraid, I have to admit. It was not something that was bringing joy to me. In as much as I was in pain, I wasn't really looking like for that kind of remedy. But he was the expert and he said that that was the remedy. And so what do? I end up on my first journey to the great city, Nairobi. Only that, unlike many other boys in my village back there, I wasn't at all excited that I was going to Nairobi. Why? Because I knew that I was stepping into Nairobi for my very first time. You can imagine. I was stepping into Nairobi with my 2 legs, and then I was going to go back to my village with only 1 leg. And that was something that was devastating for me. I could also see that it was taking a toll on my mom, because she was suddenly quiet. She was just not jovial at all. So the day that I was supposed to go for that surgery to remove my leg, my dad used to work for the Kengen company. He's now retired. And so the company did give us the ambulance. I wasn't critical, of course, but it's just because I was a child of the staff, they just extended that favor to us instead of like traveling by public means, going to Nairobi and then coming back after the surgery. So they just like lent us the company ambulance to take me and bring me back home. So the first time I stepped in Nairobi, I was in an ambulance. A God of second chances. Guys, when you see me praise, when you see me sing, when you see me on YouTube like jumping up and down and playing music and everything, when you see me in church leading worship, playing keys, training guys on anything to do with worship music, it's because for me it goes beyond the talent. It goes beyond the gift. It is personal, because God did something for me that anytime I remember, I just, well, what can I say? Anytime I remember that incident, I try to look for a way to explain it, and it's just supernatural. There was no other way that could have happened. So here we are now with my mom. We're going to Nairobi. Now we are in an ambulance, and then when we get to Nairobi, okay, of course it's my first time there. My mom had been there occasionally in the past, but she was like in the company of a relative or something like that. So she wasn't really any better than me in as far as the big city was concerned. And so we were relying now on the company driver that had drove us to Nairobi to actually take us to Hazina Towers. That's where my surgery was supposed to take place. That's where I was supposed to meet that doctor who was supposed to remedy my leg by cutting it. And Hazina Towers is just behind Kemu Towers. I'll not go to the geography of that, it's not important. But the reason I felt that I should mention where it is because here we are in Nairobi and we know nothing about the city. And then it turned out that actually the driver was also not very familiar with the big city. Now, what are the odds? I mean, come on. So we start our search for Hazina Towers. So we go, we stop somewhere on the streets and we ask some guys, hey, do you know where Hazina Towers is? And they tell us, oh yeah, sure. It's just like around, you just go down this way, maybe take a roundabout there, then come back this way, take a left over here, and then you're gonna find it. It's just like a few blocks. And so we go, we follow the instructions. The driver is like really confused. And we ended up spending a lot of time. At that moment, I felt like we were wasting a lot of time looking for this Hazina Towers building. But then way later, God actually revealed to me that we were not wasting a lot of time. We were actually in His perfect plan. My mom was really a prayerful woman, and she still is up to this moment. And she had really prayed about that condition. And so when we were like, we have finally made it to Nairobi, we have this appointment with this doctor, and then all of a sudden it turns out that we are just like crisscrossing on the city streets, getting lost here and then. Like we were just messed up. It's like we had no idea where we were going. And it was a bit confusing because we couldn't really figure out why that was happening. But the God of second chances, the God who plans everything, was actually the one taking control at that moment when you were feeling like we had lost control of the situation. So finally, after searching and searching, it was a long search, I can assure you. Yeah, I was really getting impatient. We finally did manage to get ourselves to Hazina Towers. And so immediately we got there, my mom just literally dashed out, and then she took me, she carried me. By this moment, the pain was so intense I couldn't walk on my own. And so she was actually carrying me, a class 6 boy being carried on the back. And my mom was obviously struggling because I was heavy, but she's my mom, you know, the sacrifices that moms make. So she is carrying me, and now the driver has been left like parking the ambulance. So we go with my mom to the elevator, we wait for one that so when we got into the elevator, the doors closed, and then boom, we go up, and then the doors opened again. And I look straight and I see what obviously appears to be exactly the place we are looking for, because it was filled with like skeletal whatever, I don't know what they are called. Maybe somebody in the medical world can tell me, but those frames they put that have different like bones and things, so they are plastered all over. You can see them right from the elevator door. You actually you don't even need to ask where it is you are going, because you can see. That's the point. And so it was a bit frightening, it was a bit scary, because I could see. Now the guy was a specialist in children's bones. Again, I'm not a medic, I'm in music. I don't know what they are called, but I know they have a specific name. And so I could see like little skeletons of children I could also see some diagrams of children without arms, without limbs. And it dawned on me that, hey boy, you need to wake up. This is actually happening. You had better started saying goodbye to your leg, because this is as far as it comes. The next time you are coming out of this place, I don't even need to say what I was thinking at that moment. But then I looked at my mom, and she was in tears. By this time we are now seated at the reception. And immediately there was an opportunity to talk with the receptionist. My mom rushed straight to her and she introduced herself and told the receptionist, hey, we are these guys, we have been sent blah 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 from Embu, you know, that kind of stuff. And then the receptionist was like having a mixed reaction. She was like, oh, you guys, oh, welcome, you finally made it. You know, we've been waiting for you all day. We were wondering where you were. And it's good that you have arrived, but unfortunately I have some bad news, because the doctor was actually waiting for you, and he has been waiting for you, and he just left. In fact, you just like missed him. I am sure that as your elevator was coming up, probably the elevator he took was going down. I'm sure mmepitania hapo kwa elevators like this. And so we are like, okay, this surgery needs to happen ASAP. It's not our fault that we are late. We have done literally everything that we could to be there on time. And then the doctor has left, and I was like, Mom, where's God? I mean, we've prayed for him. He knows that I'm in pain. I'm so confused. I don't know whether I'll be able to play with the other kids anymore. I feel like my life has just been, I don't know. I can't even explain what was going on in my mind, but I was disappointed. I was disappointed in God. I was frustrated. I felt like crying. I felt like beating the hell out of something. And so we realized that there was nothing else we were doing in Nairobi. So we headed back. And when we went back, guys, let me tell you, the God of second chances. When we headed back home, my doctor back then, he was called Dr. Luganje. That's now the doctor from my home clinic. I will remember that guy for the rest of my life, Dr. Luganje. Because when we got there and we told him what had happened, he was furious, he was mad, he was like, why did that doctor leave? And yet he knew that you were coming. And I had even told him that you had somehow gotten lost in Nairobi, but you are finding your way there. Why did he leave? Of course, that was not a question that we could answer, I mean. But Dr. Luganje, I believe it was God working through him, because he recommended that we don't go back to that doctor. Even though I had already come to terms with the fact that it was just a matter of days before I said goodbye to my leg. There is a God of second chances, guys. Dr. Luganje recommended that I go to another doctor. And so arrangements were made. My mom and I were back to Nairobi again for the second time. Only that this time we really didn't know what we went there expecting, because the first time, of course, we knew we were going there expecting that my leg was going to be cut off. Now this time around, the doctor that we had been sent to, even though he had seen the x-rays that had been sent to him, he said that he needed to examine me physically before he could pass a judgment on what the remedy was. And you know, it's when we got there. Now this is another doctor that I will never ever forget. In fact, up to this moment, I usually look for this guy. He was called Dr. Gaku, and he was at a hospital called Menelik, if my memory isn't messing up with me. He was Dr. Gaku, and the hospital was called Menelik. Hospital was something, but I remember the name Menelik. And Dr. Gaku immediately, he examined me. He realized that the situation was actually not that much intense as the previous doctor had recommended. Funny enough, I can't even remember that guy's name. This doctor from Hazina Towers. I never got his name that time, and even to this moment, I have never even cared to know what was his name. And that even got more serious when I realized what his intention was. Because guys, to just wrap this up, what my mom and I finally realized was that this first doctor, because my dad worked, like I mentioned, for the Kengen company, and all the medication for him and his family was catered for by the company. So what he had seen was an opportunity to actually milk some cash from my dad's medical cover from the Kengen company. And so that's why he had actually recommended that I go for this surgery, so that he could have a way of milking some. Can you imagine how pathetic that was coming from a whole doctor? I mean, but I forgave him. In fact, immediately I realized what was his plot. I forgave him. I hold no grudge against him, but like I said, I have never really cared to know who he was, because he was just about to mess my life for good just because of money. And thanks to my home doctor, Dr. Luganje, and this new doctor, Dr. Gaku, because Dr. Gaku actually sent me to be admitted at Nairobi Hospital. I was in Nairobi Hospital for I think a week and a half or 2 weeks. I can't quite recall. But he came there, he did the surgery there. He opened up my knee. He was able to cut the bones that were protruding. I don't really know how exactly he did it, but he rectified the situation with just a surgery. And then I was left in hospital for a while to recover. And now, fast forward, 2 things I want you to learn from this video is that when I say there is a God of second chances, and that there is a God who actually orchestrates everything that happens in our lives, there are 2 main reasons that make me say that. The first one, of course, is I have my 2 legs. The first doctor had said that if the leg was not cut off, that it would stop growing, that by the time I reached my full height, and I'm so tall nowadays, at least I know that. So he had actually told me that if the leg is not cut off, by the time I reach my full height, my left leg will be full length, but then my right leg will be hanging in the air like this because it would stop growing. Now, this guy was really corny and crafty just to get some funds from the medical cover of my dad's. Whatever, not important. Now, the first reason is tied to that. I have my 2 legs today. I don't have a plastic leg. It's not a metallic leg. It's my natural 2 legs that God created me with, and He has sustained me. And just on that sustained me note, this leg, the right leg, it's actually the leg that I used to step on what is called the sustain pedal of a piano. Of course, I'm a pianist. Most of you already know that. And for those who know something about pianos and music, you know there is that pedal. It's called a foot pedal that pianists usually like step on like this. It's called a sustain pedal. And so God sustained my 2 legs because He knew way later that He was going to give me a ministry, a calling to be a worship musician, and specifically a pianist. And He knew that I was going to need that leg in order to be able to press the sustain pedal as I played music that glorifies Him. Hallelujah, somebody. A God of second chances. Let me tell you guys, when you believe in God, of course that time I'm not sure that I really believed in God, but my mom did and still does up to this moment. And so I know that it was her prayers that were working that moment, bringing that whole confusion of looking for Hazina Towers and everything, and ending up being so late that the doctor had to leave. And then this was like a blessing in disguise kind of thing, because we thought that we were getting late and so we would miss a very important appointment that was the remedy to my trouble. But at the same time, God was taking that situation which seemed like it was going in the wrong direction, and then He turned it. Oh my goodness, when you see me praise, when you see me jump, when you see me sing, I have a reason. The second is this. Now, of course, today I'm not just a worship leader. I am actually an instrumentalist and I am a producer. All the songs that you hear from me, I produce myself. Now, where did I learn that? Wait for it, wait for it. A God of second chances. Guys, when you believe in God, when you believe in God, you won't believe it when I tell you that actually I learned audio production in Hazina Towers. Now, this is the first building that I stepped into the first time I went to Nairobi. And that initial moment as a little boy in class 6, I had stepped into that building being carried by my mom on her back, going to have my leg cut off. And then years later, God turns this whole story into something else, and I step into that very building with my 2 legs this time, and I took myself there. I enrolled myself there to a college. It's called Shantao Media Arts College, and that's where I learned audio production. Come on guys, what are the odds? I was of course very familiar with the location of Hazina Towers. I mean, I have a history with that building. And when I realized that I was actually going to that same building, to a college, to do what I love, to pursue, oh goodness gracious, there is a God in heaven. And so I just would like to encourage somebody this moment. I don't know when you are watching this video, but at whatever time you are watching this video, I want you to know that God really does have a plan. No matter what you're going through this moment, no matter what you have gone through in the recent past or in the past, as long as you believe in God, as long as you trust in Him, and as long as you commit your life to Jesus Christ, then it's best if you can just sit and relax and let God take the wheel, like He did for my life. And that is why today you can be able to enjoy my music. Today you can be able to be blessed by my ministry. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for watching. God bless you. God bless us all. And may you live to fulfill your purpose. Amen.